Welcome back to our class one more time. Today we're going to be doing division with regrouping. The lesson objective is I can divide a two-digit number by a one-digit number with regrouping in the tens and the ones. Let's review some vocabulary. In the number sentence, 32 divided by 4 equals 9. The 36 is the dividend, and it represents the whole amount of things we're trying to divide. The divisor, in this case number 4, represents the number of groups we're grouping the whole. And the number 9 is the quotient. Now the quotient is the division answer, and in this case it's representing the number of things in each group. Now, sometimes, depending on the question, this could be the other way around. That means that sometimes the divisor could be the number of things in each group if we are trying to find how many groups we're going to have at the end. Now, the same problem we can represent using an algorithm. The algorithm is represented by this division bracket, which is using the long division problems and represents exactly the same that we have on the number on the top. For example, again, the dividend goes inside the bracket. Oops. And again, it's representing the whole. The number 4, in this case, is the divisor, goes outside in the left side of the division bracket and represents, the divisor represents again the number of groups. And finally, we have the quotient, which goes on top of the bracket, and this is going to be the answer. Remember, the quotient is the division answer. And in this case, represents the number of things in each group. And once more, sometimes depending on the problem, if we have the number of things in each group, we might be trying to find how many objects in each group. Division and multiplication are related facts because they are opposite. They complement each other. For example, we know that 36 is the dividend, and that represents the whole. If we translate that to a multiplication, the dividend or whole becomes now the product of the multiplication, which represents the whole. Then we have the divisor and the quotient, that are going to become the factors. Now, the same as we did before, we know that the divisor is the number of groups. So the first factor is going to be the number of groups. And we know that the quotient is the number of things in each group, which is the same in the multiplication. The second factor represents the number of things in each group. We do the same with the multiplication algorithm. Remember, this is the division algorithm, and we do the same. So the 36, which is the whole, goes as the answer, as the product, and represents the whole too. And the same we said, the divisor and the quotient are going to represent the two factors that we are going to multiply. Let's see all the related facts. 36 divided by 4 equals 9, which is going to be the same as 36 divided by 9 equals 4. We can see the same if we use the division bracket. 36 divided by 4 is 9, or 36 divided by 9 is 4. So either way it works. The same happens in multiplication. If I have as the product 36, I know my factors are going to be 4 and 9, because 4 times 9 equals 36. But at the same time, if I have the same product, I can switch around the factors, and I can tell 9 times 4 equals 36. And I can see the same in the algorithm. 9 times 4 is 36, the same as 4 times 9 equals 36. So when you notice, the fact family or the related facts use the same numbers. The only difference is when you have the multiplication, you're always looking for the whole, and the whole is always in multiplication at the end. I have the multiplication at the end. But in division, we have the whole always at the beginning. That means I cannot do 4 divided by 9 equals 36. That cannot be done because you don't have 4 things. You cannot divide them in 9 groups. So always remember that you have to put the whole in a division. You have to put the whole first. So 36 divided by 9 equals 4, or 36 divided by 4 equals 9. Let's solve this problem. Ashley divides 78 books into 3 stacks. How many books are in each stack? Now the first thing I'm going to do is, after reading the problem, is to underline the question, how many books are in each stack? And remember, to do the answer statement, you have to take away the words that make the question. Now using books are in each stack, we're going to create the answer statement. In this case, it's going to be, there are blank books in each stack. Now we're going to start representing the problem. The problem says, Ashley divides 78 books. So we need to get the 78 books. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and 8 books. So we have now 78 books. And here says that she's going to divide. Obviously, the word divide is telling us to divide into 3 stacks. So remember, some important vocabulary to do division is divide. So we have dividend, divide, so quotient, equal groups, separate, distribute, shared equally, repeated subtraction, divided by, distribute, split, half, and cut up as words that remind me to do division. Now in this case, they want to know how many books are on each stack. That's important because we want to know how many in each. So when we want to know how many on each group, we're going to do a division. So our job is to divide these 78 books into 3 groups. So let me show the 3 groups. So we have group 1, group 2, and group 3. Now to solve the division algorithm, we're going to start always dividing by the tens. We're going to be following these steps. Step number 1 says divide the tens. So let's divide the tens. I have 3 groups and I have 7 tens. So let me put the algorithm here. So I'm dividing 78 things, could be anything, divided into 3 groups. Now because I'm going to start with the 10, I'm going to ignore for now, I'm going to ignore the 8. So I have 7 tens divided by 3. So my job is to distribute them equally among these 3 groups. So just by calculating, I notice that I can put 2 tens in group number 1, 2 tens in group number 2, and 2 tens in group number 3. Because I did 2, I'm going to say that 7 tens divided by 3 groups is going to be 2 tens each group. Now, I'm going to notice how many did I give and all. So I'm going to put the multiplication symbol just to remind me that I can use the multiplication to check my algorithm. So I'm going to do 3 times 2 is going to be 6. That means I gave 6 tens away in all. And I can prove that because I have 3 times 2 tens, 2 tens, and 2 tens. And all together are 2, 4, and 6 tens. So out of the 7 tens, I gave 6 tens away. Now, the next step, that was the step number 2. Multiply the quotient and the divisor. 3 times 2 is 6. Now, the next step is subtract. Why am I going to subtract? Because I gave 6 tens away. So if I have, let me do it again. I have 7 at the beginning, right? I gave 6 away, 2, 4, and 6, and I have only 1 10 left without still dividing it into the 3 groups. Now I finished that part. Now my time is to do the ones, but I have a problem. I still have this 10 So what should I do with that 10? I still need to divide it equally among these three groups. So what I'm going to do is regrouping. So this 10, I'm going to regroup it, and it's going to become 10 ones. So now I'm going to have this 10 that were 110 becomes 10 ones, plus the other 8 that I had before. So in this case, we're going to tell that the next step is bring down the ones, which is the 8. I have 8 ones, I'm going to bring it down. So it's going to come down here, and I'm going to have 18 ones. I can prove it because I have 10 ones here, plus 8 more makes the 18. Now this 18, I'm going to distribute them. So I'm going to go with the next step, which says, repeat the process with the ones. So I'm going to divide, multiply, and subtract again, which are these steps: divide, multiply, and subtract. So let's do that. So I'm going to start distributing, and I know that product is going to be 18, so I'm going to do what I do. 3 times a number is going to be 18. And because I know my multiplication tables, I know it's going to be 6. Because 6 times 3 is 18. So I multiply, and I'm going to put 6 times 3 is 18. Let's see, that means I'm going to give away 18. And when I subtract, I'm going to have 0 left. Let's see if it's true. Here it's telling me that I had to give 6 to each group. So let me do 5 to this group, 5 to the next group, 5 to the next group, and then 1 more for each one. So if you notice, I gave 6 ones to each group, which is this quotient now. So in total, my division is telling me that I gave 26 to each group. So 78 books divided into 3 stacks makes 26 books in each stack. So let's prove it. 20 and 6, 26, 20 and 6, 26, 20 and 6, 26. So I have 0 books left without distributing. Now, remember, every time I do a division, I can prove it with a multiplication, which is a reverse operation. So I'm going to do 26 times 3 to prove if my answer is right. So remember, I start with the ones. 3 times 6 ones is going to be 18 ones. And then 3 times 20, remember this is a 20. I add the 0 of the 20, and then 3 times 2 is 6. And when I add my numbers, 8 ones and 7 tenths, I notice that the product of my multiplication, which is a whole, is going to be the dividend, which is the whole. They are equal. If they are equal, that means my division is right. So the answer to the problem is there are 26 books in each stack. Naomi has 42 cupcakes. The mother shows what she did with the cupcakes. Write a number sentence to explain what she did. Look carefully how many groups does she have and what happened to some of the groups. Bye. See you next time.